Hello, everybody. This is Eve, and we are here for the Braless Entrepreneur podcast. I'm hanging out today with Stephanie Melodia. I wanted to make sure that I learned how to say that correctly because she's like a big time speaker, but I've never gotten to see her speak actually in person. And every time I've hung out with her, she's actually the host, so she's kind of like Oprah, except she has a cool British accent. So I am here with her today. We are on the Braless Entrepreneur podcast. You can check all the episodes out at ditchthebra.com. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. You are the world's greatest hype woman. I love it. It's probably the first time I've been described as Oprah with a British accent. I'll take it.
We're just gonna go for that, Stephanie. So listen, I haven't. Are you my first person on the show with a cool accent? I mean, I guess if you consider Southern US, they have cool accents or whatever. But yes, I think you are. So y'all, I met Stephanie. We both work at the One Day MBA program, and we're both mentors. And it's a fabulous program where you earn an MBA while you start your own company or while as an entrepreneur you grow your company. And so I just kept on hearing about this amazing mentor, Stephanie. And then she also hosts a show for One Day, her own show. And I got to be interviewed on that and just thought, I'm really stuck up about myself. And I think I'm an amazing host and amazing speaker. But Stephanie might be as good or perhaps better than I am. So I got really jealous. And then I just thought the only way I could figure this out is to have her on the show. So here she is. All right, Stephanie, what we talk about on this show are all things being a woman entrepreneur. And I want to hear your journey. And we also just talk about normal human women things as well. So anything I ask, feel free to answer. Anything you don't want to answer, be like, let's skip that. Okay, so tell me your life story.
Wow, life story. Okay, I don't have time for that. Okay. I am actually going to start that story on my mum being the biggest snob in the world.
The biggest what in the world?
Snob.
Snob. Fabulous.
My mum being the biggest snob in the world is the reason I'm here, literally. So let me back up. She and her best friend, i.e. my godmother, and by the way, I mean, that intro was just like the highest praise. I also highly respect and admire Eve as a fellow colleague. She mentioned that we're both mentors on the MBA program. I mentioned here in the story, my mum's best friend is now my godmother. I call Eve the fairy god mentor. So this is your one-liner. That's my branding for you there as well. Anyway, so we rewind the clocks back to, I'm going to say 1979. So good year for music. And my mum and her best friend went on holiday to this campsite in France. My mum showed up. Obviously, this is pre-internet, pre-Instagram. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. And this snob came out of her and was like, I am not spending one night at this fucking campsite.
That sounds like me.
I knew you'd appreciate this story.
Yes.
Right? So I thought I would start with this one. Spun on her heel, marched right back to the travel agents, obviously different time, and was like, you need to put us up like somewhere else. So this travel agent goes, okay, no worries. Let me see what we've got available. Like short notice. We've got a hotel in Sicily and we've got a villa in Greece. My mum just heard hotel and was like, just take me to the hotel. How many stars does it have? Take me there. Anyway, this hotel in Sicily is where my dad just so happened to be working as a barman. And so this is how they met. And really what I'm going to do here is very selfishly and taking a cue from the amazing American hustlers is connecting it now to present day and my signature topic on hacking luck, which I would love to talk a little bit about, right?
So y'all, just so you know, Stephanie is an incredible speaker, yes, online, but mostly in person. So if you're looking for a keynote, if you're looking for somebody who's like really gonna take the audience on a journey, make it real, make them laugh, and then walk away feeling lighter, feeling better, feeling energized, I think this is somebody you should consider. So Stephanie, please tie it up for us.
I need to get you on commission. I really appreciate that. And so tying this up, this signature concept, which I can tell your listeners a little bit more about in just a sec, but I open up with my keynotes usually asking one question we'll come back to, but later on is then getting people to think about what's the luckiest thing that's ever happened to them. And I usually frame it with some stories, some crazy stories of lottery winners who have won not once, twice, but 3, 4 times in some crazy cases, like really defying the odds. And so I contextualize the story a little bit, get listeners to start thinking about what was the luckiest thing that ever happened to you? Was it a chance encounter? Was it the way you met your partner today? Was it an old colleague that got you the job of your dreams, whatever it might be, right? So this is a bit of a spoiler alert here, but I feed them these kind of cues. When the truth is, the luckiest thing that has ever happened to any of us is, of course, being born. And so that's how I'm teeing up this opening story, because literally, if my mum hadn't been a snob and spun on her heel in that campsite in France, she would have never have met my dad at that hotel in Sicily. And then, of course, the myriad thousands of other things that led to me being here today. So that's as much of the life story I think I'll give you for now.
I love it. Yeah, I don't think people, I don't remember the number, but like like the egg number and the sperm number, like a bajillion or millions or whatever.
Yeah.
And the fact that we exist at all is insane.
Yeah.
Like it's bizarre that we even exist. And I think that, this is such a cheesy thing, but like life is such a gift.
Honestly,
It's such a weird gift.
I always say exactly the same thing that makes us all the luckiest is precisely what we all take for granted every single day. So yeah, it sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, but when you do put the numbers to it, which I kind of have, right, for these keynotes that I present, which that number is so huge to your point that you can't even say it because it has like millions of zeros in the number. And so part of the story here is I try to visualize how vast that number is, just to try and like wrap our head around how insane it is that we're here. Because of course, it's not just my mom and dad's chance encounter at this hotel in Sicily, but of course, my grandparents on either side, the different grandparents on either side of that, the great grandparent, and it continues to tree out, right? And so it's a little bit of a kind of a reveal that I do in these sessions, especially when I haven't met anyone before, where I'm kind of like, oh, a party trick. I actually know the answer to the question. We will have it in common. It's this. And so trying to visualize this number, it's actually not possible. I went to ChatGPT, of course, our friend, to try and help visualize like how huge this number is. And its response was, this number is so huge that it would fill, just to try and get our heads around this a teensy bit, the amount of zeros in this number would fill 12 Harry Potter books, every single page back to front. So you imagine you pick up a chunky Harry Potter book and you just go through each page and you do that not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 12. Like, and even that, right? Even that is still insane to get our head around. And so, yeah, not to be too corny about it, but the luckiest thing we have in common is that we're right here, right now. Just looking at it from a statistical standpoint, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into it. You are a mentor for entrepreneurs. You are a speaker. How, in particular, do women entrepreneurs hack luck and make an assload of money? How about that, Stephanie? Let's just get right to it. Or, first of all, tell us your story. How did you hack luck and make an assload of money? What can we learn from that, Stephanie?
Okay, so my first proper business started 24th of November 2017. Now I say my first proper business because apparently sneaking into the basement of my art school to screen print t-shirts and model them on my baby sister doesn't quite count as my first business.
I think it does. I do.
I didn't really make much from that. This was back in the days of having Facebook pages and doing home photo shoots. So there was obviously a bit of an entrepreneurial kind of itch there to begin with. But yeah, so 24th of November 2017, I incorporated my first proper business, which was a marketing consultancy for startups. And constraints force creative solutions. So I say that because it was completely bootstrapped. We didn't have any external funding. We didn't have any external investment. And I'm glad for it, because what it would have meant was we would have just thrown money at paid social. We would have just created a load of ads. we would have continued to line the pockets of Mark Zuckerberg, who really doesn't need it. You know, he's making a huge fortune off the back of small businesses, of entrepreneurs, and I would have wasted a ton of cash. And so that's where, you know, where we both work at One Day, very much proponent of the lean startup model, because money can definitely artificialize success. I'll come back to this in a sec, but basically this constraint forced me to bootstrap this company and build it from scratch, from nothing. And so I was out there hustling, cold outreach, networking, beg, borrowing, stealing, saying yes to every single event, getting out there and trying to build this company from nothing. And where that led to was speaking at conferences. And obviously back then it's a business development channel for my marketing agency. I'm happy to get in front of my target audience, hopefully convert a few people into clients for my business. But it was through that I realized, actually, people make a living from this. This is really fun. I'm getting amazing feedback. I love doing this. And not only that, but it awoke this deeper fire that I had in me since I was absolutely teeny tiny Eve. From as far back as I can remember, my burning, passionate desire was to be an actress. This was all throughout childhood. I went to drama school. I went to every audition going. And puberty hit and I just kind of gave up on that dream. And then it wasn't until this awakening with my business, doing it through this BD kind of route, it just reawakened, you know, 7-year-old Steph. And so that's where it was born, this whole public speaking career. And it's taken a while, even within this journey, to find what's called speaker market fit, right? In business, we talk about product market fit. In this instant, you know, you still have it with whatever you're doing. It's still a business. You still have to find clients. And it's taken a while because I love it as a format. It's a skill that I have. But within that, you've still got to find your niche. You've got to find your thought leadership. And so I went down so many dead end paths, right? I would speak a lot about feminism, which we can definitely get into. I definitely have a hot take on that topic, which I may or may not want to share with your listeners. I feel like if I'm going to share it on any show, this would be the place to share.
Okay,
good. But I went down these dead ends talking about, you know, feminism and this and that. And it wasn't until honestly about a year ago, a year and a half, where I was just posting about this thing called hacking luck. You know, we all, as entrepreneurs, we're always ideating, we're noodling on new ideas and things. And it just hit and it just spread like wildfire. This amazing guy, one of my earlier supporters, brought me in to a client session he was running as a guest speaker, and it's kind of grown from there. So I can tell your listeners, break down actually what are the components to hacking luck.
I tell you what, I want to hear that, Stephanie. I want to come back to it, but I want to address a couple things.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had this burning desire and you knew who you were, and you went through puberty and then something changed. Yeah. I've read a lot, and I saw it in my own kid. I can't remember if it happened to me because I'm so damn old, but I read a lot about how girls have just this rampant confidence about themselves. Yeah. Even at the age that a lot of times they have a little tummy, they probably have a horrible haircut. Like it's not the best moment for them physically, right? I remember my daughter at that time, she used to call herself Cyclops because she got this like haircut that went like this and covered one of her eyes. But she was confident as hell. Yeah. And then she went through puberty and it just changed. So like, I read so much about that and like, do you have any opinions on what the hell that's about? Like, why does that happen?
I have more than opinions. Yeah, 100%. And I'm really glad that you took us back to that moment because I actually did stumble upon scientific research on exactly this phenomenon way after the fact. Yeah. And so I was like, oh my God, this happened to me too. I remember the specific moment. I was 14 years old outside my school classroom waiting to go in. It was an overcast, cloudy morning. And it was just like a switch flipped where it was just, I remember the moment, honestly, Eve, so perfectly. I remember just asking myself, like, what have I been smoking all these years? Because the explanation is exactly that. We grow up as little girls thinking that we're princesses, thinking that we're the most beautiful girls in the world. And it's because, you know, we're surrounded by love more often than not, hopefully. And we've got supportive parents and these lovely role models in cartoons. And there's so many different components, right? You've got the media that you're consuming as a little girl. You know, you're literally watching Disney movies, or at least I was in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously we don't start to develop There's different levels of awareness, there's different levels of prefrontal cortex development. And so at that teenage point in puberty, that is where suddenly it's just like fitting in with the crowd. That's where peer pressure and everything else just comes to this like apex moment. And puberty just kind of it just takes that self-confidence off a cliff. It's just a nosedive, and you suddenly develop this self-consciousness out of nowhere, which sounds sad in the moment, it sounds negative in the moment, but it is all part of the developmental process, right? It's very much like in entrepreneurship, where you've got to test these things out and see what's working and what isn't, to then kind of come through the other side. So it's almost like that pendulum has to swing so far up the other end to then kind of settle back down, so that you don't walk around like an absolute arrogant prick the rest of your life, right?
I feel like you put a positive spin on almost everything. Like, I'm just pissed about it. Like, why does that happen to little girls, but I don't see it happening to little boys? Is it because as a society, we put so much value on our attractiveness and fertility, and we're judged more about that, and then suddenly that's important because of puberty? Like, it's bullshit. Like, I can't make it positive like you. No, we shouldn't have to go through that to swing back. You should have stayed thinking and knowing how fabulous you are the whole time. You had to get all the way back to that. Like, what a pain in the ass.
But
I just think it's a pain in the ass.
I agree. I know. But I love that you bring the boys comparison to the mix here,
Yeah.
because they go through a completely different developmental process. It's much slower.
Okay.
And so as a result, this further proves my point, Eve. Like, I'm not here just trying to find the silver lining. It further
Yeah.
proves my point, how women then, or, older kind of teenagers, late teens, early 20s, like, we are little women. We are young women. We are fully matured, a lot more comparatively, right? Comparative to the guys that haven't gone through that same sort of soul searching episode, because they're still just in their world playing their video games. And yeah, it's honestly, it's made us all the better for it. It really has.
I love when I disagree with smart people. It's so fun. Okay, here's my other thing. I also grew up wanting to be an actress and doing theater. I also
Makes
went and got my
sense.
theater degree. And then I was in college right before I finished, and you was like, you know what? I like money. So I'm not going to get this theater degree. I'm going to go do something else, because the chances of me actually making it as an actress are not good. Because I was like good at acting, but I wasn't fabulous. And the chances of making it, even if you're fabulous, are so small. And I like money. And then I found that the thing that really lit me up was making people laugh. Like, more than anything, being on the stage and making people laugh. Like, it still makes me happier than anything.
Amazing.
And so I understand your need, like your want to be in front of that audience, and then finding a way to make money from
Yeah.
doing that is
Yeah.
it's a big, it's a tough thing for many people to do. So
Yeah.
I did end up doing it. It was very hard. I did it for many years. I went from charging nothing to $500 to $1,000. And then I remember the highest I ever got in one day was $17,500.
Wow.
And I felt like a goddess, like a freaking money making, high paid goddess. And I really, the most of my speaking I did, though, was to grow my marketing company,
Yeah.
just like you,
So
right?
similar.
And so I want you to talk a little bit about how you broke through, and people to recognize that you have to make money from your art and your work, which is speaking. Not
Yeah.
everybody can do public speaking. It's one of the biggest fears that people have.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that you're either charging for your speaking
Yeah.
itself, or it's leading to a lot of money in business, or in a perfect world, both, right? So
Yeah.
I work with so many speakers. I know you work with tons of speakers. How did you do it? How did you get to the point where the speaking actually turns into money?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Love that. And before I answer, I want to give you kudos on having the best money mindset in the world because, oh my,
Aw.
your 17.5K day that you got there, feeling like this goddess, how many people, like, again, in the minority with this, right? Because
Yeah.
the vast majority of people, women as well, for your female listeners, like, how many would feel like icky and, oh my God, like, do I deserve this? And this whole other kind of narrative to start spinning. So I do want to give you flowers
Yeah.
for that and setting that example.
I know I'm a lot like a fellow. Like the more money I make, I look in the mirror and I just get hotter. Like with every dollar I make, I'm like, did I lose 50 pounds if I close like a giant day? Did like 10 years, did I get Botox and forget? And then if I lose a deal or disappoint a client, I'm like, I feel like I just gained 30
Oh,
pounds. Like I feel like I'm so old. And
oh.
it's a very male, I think, a very
Mm,
male way of thinking. I want to follow on to what you're saying is I work with so many women who are like, well, I do good for the world. I
yeah.
recently got my death doula certification, which is a
Oh,
whole nother story.
amazing. Wow.
And I was with these incredible women that help people through, in my opinion, the biggest event in life, which is
Yeah.
death,
Yeah.
that, 10 out of 10 of us are going to experience. And they're helping the family through it. They're helping this person through it. And there's a huge controversy of should they be compensated for
Mm,
that or not? And
mm,
women, a lot of women have this
mm,
issue with
mm.
my work is helping people, my work is nurturing people, my
Yeah.
work is growing people.
Yeah.
Should I really be paid for that or should I really be paid fairly for that? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you
It's
freaking should. If you
yeah.
want to come into this world and make it a better place,
Right.
make sure
Right.
you make your world a better place.
That is the travesty.
Right?
We may disagree on the girls going through puberty and the nosedive, but
Yeah.
that is a travesty.
Yes.
This other like we just overlay these stories onto these things that ultimately like are just doing not only I think this is what I find helps women. And if there are any female listeners tuning into this now that's feeling like, okay, this is starting to get close to the bone, like I'm really kind of resonating with this whole kind of money chat, a really helpful reframe, especially if you feel good as like a giver, you want to be helping, you want to be altruistic in this sense. Think about it this way. Not only are you doing yourself, your family unit, the people close to you a disservice for not charging fairly for your, for what you do in this world, but you are doing a disservice to everybody else and like we have got so many things in common. I knew about your marketing background, the public speaking. Now we've also got the theater background, so we are just the same person in many ways. And so coming from, if I take the marketing agency experience as an example, you'll know this as well, very well with your experience. How much time did you waste pitching to clients? How much work went in to proposals, to pitches? I don't know if this is more of a UK thing, but having worked in kind of ad land at these bigger agencies before I set up my own one, the amount of time and stress and pressure and all this other, just burden that it would put on everyone in the team to like pull all-nighters, to do these extra hours on top of the work you're already doing in a bid to win new business, right? Especially if you're more creative and you spend some time putting together some creative concepts, some creative directions, you're polishing the final touches of this pitch. And more often than not, you lose. You win some, you lose some. And I'm just using that as like an industry example, how much of a disservice it does to everybody else, like every other agency. We all go along with it, but we've all made it worse for each other because that's where you've set the bar. If somebody starts saying, this isn't fair, like you want to meet us, you want a chemistry call, you want to see our case studies, you want to meet the team, that's fine. But this is the work that we do and we get remunerated for. And so whether it's in a marketing agency format, whether it's death doulas, whether it's a public speaker, every time, and again, this mindset shift, I don't often need the reframe, but it is helpful if I'm feeling a little bit wobbly. And I hope it's helpful to your listeners to every time I would say, and I don't, if I were to say, okay, yeah, fine, I'll come and speak at your event for free. you are affecting the whole rest of the industry now because you've conditioned that client to expect it, to think it's acceptable to ask people. And so again, if that helps, you're not doing it for you. You can still have that altruistic mindset and think, I'm doing it for the rest of my peers in the industry.
I love that.
It's
I've
true.
never heard it framed that way, and I
Yeah.
learned a lot just now. So
This is
thank you.
new.
We do have a lot in common. I just think you're like way more positive and nicer than I am. You also have better arms. I've seen you in a lot of sleeveless shirts, and I think I told you from the beginning. I was like, you have Michelle Obama arms. Like they're amazing. I digress. I don't know why I was just thinking about that. Okay, so I'll just give one tip to people. Put your freaking speaker rate on a piece of paper and send them your rate card. Make it up. Put the biggest number on there that doesn't make you die laughing. Like, just put it on there and send it to them. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Love,
So,
love it.
back to you, Stephanie. How did you do it? Like,
Yeah.
how did you step up? Were you mostly doing it to get business? Were you mostly like, when did you start charging? Like, give us the story.
Yeah, love that. So yeah, so born from the agency, as I mentioned, so I wasn't charging because honestly, knowledge is power, and I didn't know. I
Yep.
genuinely, we rewind the clock a few years. I didn't know that people got paid. I didn't think of myself as a speaker. Like I wasn't in that moment, right? And so it was through that business, speaking at conferences. I then got roped in by some of our clients to go and host events on their behalf. Like we were putting on the events as part of their marketing agency, but they would kind of rope me into that as well. And so I have to give flowers to the business coach that I was actually working with for the last couple of years with my company, who kind of gave me permission. And I feel like maybe this is another female trait where we need like a permission slip from someone else. I remember the session that we had where she literally said, like, I give you permission. You need to lean into this. She was like, you clearly enjoy it. It energizes you. You can monetize this. And it is a very effective business development channel for you. And yeah, she was like, you've got my blessing, like set aside a couple of hours every Friday afternoon, do some outreach, blah, blah, blah. And again, I mentioned before, there are so many dead ends that I went down, dead ends in terms of like topics that I would speak about. I had a meeting with my agent a few years ago and he was like, so tell me, like, what's your thing? What's your shtick? What do you talk about? And I remember answering him, and this is a word of warning to anyone who's in a similar situation. I remember saying, like, I talk about lots of different things. I'm very passionate. I'm very like versatile. And he just cut me off and was like, Steph, that is fingernails down a chalkboard to me. Don't say that. They don't want that. They want to know, what box are we putting you in? How can we sell you? And to be fair, there's part of how you find product market fit, speaker market fit. If you try and speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And so it was a similar process of trial and error as well. Speaking at conferences, speaking at private events. And what I came to learn, the punchline here, is when it comes to monetizing your public speaking, what I've now learned and what I can save your listeners literally, I mean, honestly, like 3-4 years at this point of trial and error, is when you say public speaking, people often think of those conferences because it is public facing, because that's what you see. There's got all the marketing around it. Conferences don't pay you unless you are the headliner, unless you're Gary Vaynerchuk or Michelle Obama or whoever. Precisely the people who actually don't need the speaker fee are the ones, because they're the headliners. They're the one who are going to attract the crowds and going to sell the tickets. You are lucky if you get a stipend for travel and one night's accommodation if it's abroad. And so I weakly justified to myself in the early years that this was subsidized travel. So I was like, okay, I'll go to Copenhagen, I'll go to Sweden. I've never been, I've always wanted to go. I'll bring my partner along with me. But it's like a weak justification. It's like, this isn't a business, right? This is just, you're just contributing to some of my travel. But in those early days, it was good to get the experience, because the truth is I'm not on a stage every week, right? So it's like, I want to get on more stages. I got the footage, I got testimonials, I get the logos. There's a lot that you can use in your marketing to kind of put out there. And so for me, after a while, I felt like I ticked that box. And what I've now discovered, it is those private client gigs that is where the budget is. So answering a question, I love it. Talking about money, we need to talk about money way more often. You are great at it. You are one of the best. And then this is where it starts to almost get a bit into the gray area, what I'm finding, where you then start to become more of a trainer, more as a facilitator. We're both kind of semi-educators, being on the one-day program. And so this is what I'm right here, right now. This is where I'm currently straddling. I'm straddling these two worlds of delivering very practical workshops. It's more on the training side of things. The public speaking is just a vehicle to do. It's just a skill as part of it, but you still need the substance to train your audience on whatever it may be. So for example, just yesterday, I delivered a training workshop all on communication to a bunch of PhD students with the university, right? But that's not glitzy, it's not glamorous, it's not making it to the show reel, but that was just a gig I did yesterday. And the other side of it is the glitzy, glamorous, the keynotes, the one-offs. And that is a hard game to play because we're sat here right now on the anniversary of the opening keynote that I gave an award ceremony. And I'd been to this award ceremony as a guest 3-4 years prior, every year consecutively. And of course, every year it's a different headliner. It's like Glastonbury. And so this year again, they've got somebody else. The client loves me, phenomenal feedback from both the organizers and the audience. I've got my footage. And it's a weird game where it's one of the things that you could do the most phenomenal job at and not get that repeat business, at least for that specific event. So unless that person refers you or the client moves companies, it's tricky, right? And so this is where it's a game to play if you've got a book to promote, as I know you've had a few books in the past, best-selling author. If you have got another business, that makes a ton of sense. You can more easily justify it, as I used to do with my marketing agency. But yeah, for now, I'm kind of straddling those two worlds because I absolutely love what I do. And while I'm continuing to earn an income off the more practical kind of workshops, I'm building more of that personal brand for the more glitzy kind of keynote side of things, because I know that that's just a slower burn. I don't know if that's just me. That could very much be a limiting belief, but this is
That's
my
not
experience.
a limiting belief. I think that's absolutely it. The thing that I think people needed to hear from you are your speaking is a way of earning money now or later.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing it with those things directly in mind and have a plan to get there,
Yeah.
you are wasting your time.
Yeah.
Right? You're just wasting your time. So
Yeah.
we need to wrap up. So Stephanie, thank you so much. Where can people find you? Where can they find you to book you to speak? Number one.
LinkedIn, thankfully, I'm the only Stephanie Melodia. So find me, connect. I'd love to hear from you. I'm also active on Instagram, again, just Steph Melodia, or you can check out my website, stephaniemelodia.com.
Perfect. And it's with a PH, everybody,
Yes,
just so
thank
you
you.
know, IE. And we're going to put that all in the notes and everything like that. And the main topic you talk about right now is
Hacking luck, which is all about how you can stack the odds in your favor. So there are 8 core principles. We didn't get time to talk about. There's never enough time with us. Time has flown. But there's 8 core principles across mindset and practical actions to actually stack the odds in your favor.
all right. Book Stephanie to speak. Just remember that I introduced you to her. Okay. So I'm very cool too. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the Braless Entrepreneur podcast, and visit us at ditchthebra.com.